Hello, Service Unit Finance Consultants and Service Unit Managers. I'm Kim Housen, Service Unit Support Specialist, here with
Christine Kerwin, Director of Volunteer Experience.
We thank you so much for giving us your time. Happy new Girl Scouting year.
Woohoo!
Yay! Over the summer, we've been very busy updating some of our finance processes, and these are now reflected in the latest version of your guidebook. The staff is always trying to streamline as well as clarify our processes, which ultimately help you use your time more efficiently. Consequently, we want you to all hear it first. So we create these webinars because it's the best way to get the word out to you. On the invite to this webinar, we did attach the latest version of the guidebook and the two new forms that we're going to be talking about today. All right, webinar goals. Our next slide. There we go. Okay, so the first goal is to give you updates on a few process changes and introduce you to the two new forms I just spoke about. One which is actually just being updated and the other one is brand new. The second goal for the webinar is to provide you with a short training, PowerPoint, and the script for you to use at a fall service unit meeting to get your leaders started and on the right foot. So, okay, let's see what's new. So your guidebook's been updated, as we've said, and it's now on the website, so you can access it there. The latest version is 10 for October and 2019 for our year, and it's the 11th version. So that is what you will see. The information is on the footer or the bottom of each page in the guide, starting with page 2. So please go back to your notebook where you have it stored and recycle any previous numeral versions you may have because they are no longer appropriate. So please do that. We encourage you to read all these changes as soon as you can.
Right. And Kim, the majority of changes are found on pages 12 to 15?
That is correct.
Great.
Okay, so the first page that we're going to look at is page 12. Now, we're aware that you're probably not going to be able to read these pages that we've inserted in these slides, but you can definitely get the feel for the layout of the new paper. All right, so this first one on page 12, the title has changed. It used to be VTK Finance Tab Details. Well, you know, for clarity, because we get our acronyms going, don't we? So we changed it to Volunteer Toolkit, Troop Financial Activity Report, and we will continue to refer to that as the TFAR. So from now on, you're going to see that. You'll see it in your paperwork, and that's how we refer to it, as a TFAR. All right, so this page, we've cleaned it up a bit. We've embedded some links to training webinars for you, and we realize that a majority of the co-leaders take care of the troop finances. However, there's some troops that have another volunteer who's responsible for doing it. So for consistency in the guidebook, as well as when we're speaking, we are talking about any adult who handles troop finances will be referred to as the troop treasurer. Okay. Other updates on this page include quick steps to access the Finance tab, the months that are reported in the TFAR, and the page just has a better look about it. Making things better, or as I say, more better yet. The next slide brings us to the biggest update yet. Your council has worked diligently to design a thorough new leader onboarding process, and we have 2 full-time staff members dedicated solely to working with new leaders to get them through their training and to become part of a service unit. It's time to get the back end of things taken care of. Now GSUSA, with the TFAR, it provides us a way to gather the information about who is sticking around and who is closing their troop. So now we have some new vernacular, and it's going to explain the troop closing process and your role in it. So We did have a form on the online if someone knew about it and knew where to look for it. It was called the Disbanding Troop Form. And let me tell you, the leaders that did use it with aging out girls, it would come to me all crossed off. Disbanding was crossed off and aging out was on there, because we're pretty proud of that when we can take our girls all the way to the end. But it was pretty obvious that I needed to change the form. And so often we get into our Girl Scout lingo with all our all of the acronyms. It really baffles a new leader when they're coming in. So knowing this, it's important for us to keep our guidebooks as user-friendly as possible. So we just changed the name to Troop Closure Form. And we'll talk about that one on the next slide. Since troop closure has many variables, to get back to the page 13 that we're looking at right now, you will see right there all of your favorite Girl Scout acronyms: aging out, disbanding, merging, changing a girl's status from troop to independent Girl Scout. So all of that's in there to explain it to you. We also added links and the explanation for the troop closure form. And another, a paragraph has been removed. That's another thing from this page. And it was about disposing troop equipment. The leader needs to work that out with the service unit manager. That doesn't have anything to do with anything that you might be working with the troop on. So the next slide. So this is all about the new form. It's an upgraded reporting form, so it's troop closure. And you can find this in the forms library on our website. And I know both you as the service unit consultant and the troop leaders will appreciate the checklist style of this form. It asks for troop particulars and reasons why a troop is closing. We always like to gather that information. There's so many variables for each closure, and we hope the girl status section of the form will allow for each scenario. So there's completed categories, and that will identify the girl's membership intentions. So it definitely, it has the aging out, it has the place, this girl may be placed in other troops. You're not putting names in here, you're just putting numbers of how many girls are going in which direction. And that, again, is for the leader to fill out. She may use your help to fill this out. But eventually this form will get back to our placement specialist, and they will be able to make sure nobody falls through the cracks when a troop closes, that everybody is taken care of and going in their right direction. So it really is a valuable tool. And it also reminds the leader that they need to get back to you to close the bank account. And at the end, this goes to the service unit support specialist. All right, so the next and last page with the most changes is page 14, and that is the TFAR. There we go again. So it's the Troop Financial Activity Report Submission. So this is how a closing troop does their last submission. There's been questions about how we're doing that, and finally we put it to paper. So along with the title change, there's some updated wording. Again, there's so many variables. Troops can close at any time of the year. Thankfully, each service unit only has a handful of troops every year, and they're automatically handled on a case-by-case basis. So when a troop leader comes to you or you find out, you could be closing their account in January. You could be closing their account in August. It just each event needs to be handled separately. So that's why we ask you to be flexible, because we certainly are about it, and we'll be happy to support you in any way.
And Kim, this is definitely a concern that finance consultants have brought to us about troops that end, and it's less about, oh, something bad is happening in the money, and more that the troop just stops functioning and we have accounts that never get closed. So that's money that could be benefiting girls or benefiting the service unit that just kind of go unclaimed. So especially at this time of year, we ask you to be working closely with your troop manager to identify troops that have not returned, so then those accounts can be closed and the money can be given to the service unit.
That's right. Absolutely. And it's just really nice to have these loose ends tied up.
Yes.
Have a nice process.
Definitely.
We don't want anybody to leave us, but some,
Yeah.
especially even with aging out, they need to know what to do.
Right. So now changing a little bit, we're going to talk about some changes to the Council Opportunity Fund. So in this case, one fund has been removed and another has been added. So as of membership year 2020, which started October 1st, we are no longer providing troop dues. We felt it was a better use of council funds to be funding trips, council-sponsored programs, as well as uniforms and other items needed by girls, as opposed to just troop dues. So we are removing that, but we have added a new opportunity fund for adults, council training, and events. So we've heard from adults that sometimes, especially as troops are just getting up and running, they do not have the funds to support their leaders attending trainings, which they need to provide great programming for girls. So we are now adding this opportunity fund. You can find the form right in our forms library as well as on our training page. So hey, Kim, we met goal number 1. Yay! We talked about updates. So now we're going to be moving on to goal number 2, which is prepping you to do a little mini training with your service unit to make sure all your leaders, whether they are brand new or they are returning, are up to date on financial expectations. Okay, so just an FYI that the finance consultant calendar that's in your guidebook has been updated with a reminder that we're asking you to provide these little mini trainings in the fall and in the early spring. Again, the opportunity for you to just be that financial expert, to remind them about expectations, as well as going over any changes like that great new opportunity fund for adults. So that's how we'd like you to help support in your service unit. Obviously, if there are larger concerns or there's additional questions, it can come up to the council level, but we'd really like you to become that financial guru that they go to first with any questions.
All right, so this is what it is. And what you will hear is the script that will be coming with this PowerPoint. Now, one of the things we'd like you to be sure that you understand is that if you don't have the technology where your service unit meets, and you'd rather not bring a flash drive or your laptop or anything like that, all you will need to do is print it out 3 up, and that will give you all the little note lines, you know, how they look, and pass it out to the ladies in the meeting, and then you can just have your note sheets, and they'll go along the handouts. So it doesn't have to be super technical.
Perfect. But we're really looking for you to do this training. I forgot to say this on my last slide, but we're really looking for you to do this training in September, October, November, the sun months, again, to get everybody off on the right foot for the year.
So here we go. So what you'll be saying at this slide is, hi, everyone. If you don't know me already, my name is. And then you'll say, I'm your service unit finance consultant. I have some quick finance reminders to share with you today. So what does a service unit finance consultant do? Well, I'm the third signer on all of your service unit bank accounts, as well as the service unit bank account. And if I'm not on your troop account, please come see me after the meeting, and we will work together to make this happen. Should you have any troop finance issues, please come to see me as soon as you know about them. And I'll work with you to fix the problem, and I will even reach out to council for support if I need it. As a signer on your accounts, I review each troop monthly bank statements. So that's why we want you to be able to get e-statements, so you can do that. I also work with a bank if you have an issue. Although in the majority of our troops, one of the co-leaders has agreed to be responsible for the troop funds, but it could be a parent. So if that is the case, they must be registered, and they must click the box for the position of chaperone right now, and that will get the process started for the background check. At some time, we may have a box for troop treasurer, but that's coming down the pike. I'm sorry, I wish I could say things in italics because I just added that. That's not what you have to say. Sorry about that. Okay, so anyone handling the girls' money must be cleared with the GSWNY background check. So registered and background check to handle any money. All right, so the Volunteer Essential Chapter 5, that is where you will find out about troop finances. So that's where you need to go on the website and click for the Volunteer Essentials in the Forms Library, and then you will get updated as leaders on how to handle finances. If the treasurer isn't a co-leader, then the signers would be on the account, the troop treasurer, one co-leader, and myself. Okay, the troop bank account. So it's a checking account, not a savings account. And again, 3 signers, which would be the troop treasurer, the co-leader, and myself, or both co-leaders and myself if one of the co-leaders is doing the finances. And if you write a check, then both the troop treasurer and the co-leader need to sign it. That's not a bank rule, that's our rule. We just need to be sure that there's actual checks and balances when it comes to writing checks. The debit cards, they're an awesome way to keep track of the finances. However, if you also have a personal bank account at the same bank where the troop account is, we highly recommend you identify that troop card. Maybe you take a permanent marker and write troop on it. Don't put a sticky because it's going to get stuck in the machine. But if you do something like marking it in some way so that you know, even if you keep it separate, sometimes, kids are around screaming, crazy things happen, and you don't put it back where you normally put it. These mistakes happen all the time. So from the beginning, if you can do that, and if you can try to keep it separate little bag, that would be great. No online banking, but you can go on to view your statement. So we also want to be sure that when we're setting up the account, we do everything we can to get e-statements from the banks, because that'll make it easier for both of us to be able to view the account. And something I cannot express enough, and that is to please save your receipts. If you have access to a copier, make a copy of that receipt. They have a tendency to dissolve a little bit. They kind of fade is the word I'm looking for. What I would do is I would make a copy of the receipt, and then I would write next to it on the piece of paper what I actually used it for. If you've got markers and anything that you might use quite frequently, you really would need to be marking on that sheet what you actually used it for, and perhaps the date that the event was held that you were using it at, because you won't remember. And it's just so much easier to make sure you have all your ducks in a row and get it done very quickly right after you've made the purchase. And another reason why you need those receipts is because council does do random audits, and I'd hate to see you responsible for any receipts that you were not able to provide. So remember, this is the girls' money, so we have to be very diligent about it. The next one is keeping track. So council's provided us with record-keeping options, and you'll find them on the council website. On the home page, you click Forms. It's in the horizontal bar up at the top, and that is where you'll find all these wonderful forms that will help you out. If you add purchases or income as soon as you're able, just like I was just mentioning, how easy the reporting will be. So especially the detailed cash sheet, that will give you opportunity to really put down all the nitty-gritty. The totals in these line items are what you'll be adding to the annual report when you submit. And more about that on the next slide. But however you keep your records, make sure you keep them consistent and up to date.
Right, because you really want to be reminding the leaders that at any time a parent could ask for a summary of the troop's finances. So they should be prepared to do that. And again, as Kim mentioned, this is not their funds, so you have to be extra diligent with it.
Excellent. So the next one is Annual Troop Finance Activity Report. That's the TFAR we keep talking about. So once a year, Council requires every troop and service unit to provide an accounting of the girls' money. This is done online via the Volunteer Toolkit and the Finance tab. There's a quick training on the website. Yes, a webinar, and I encourage you to review it. But this is how you will get there. So there is GSWNY.org, and you click My GS, and then when you're in there, you click Volunteer Toolkit, and then when you're there, you click the Finance tab. So once again, I think it's very important for you to add as you go, and that way you won't get stuck at the very end of the year with all these receipts and they're not entered properly. So if you can just take a little bit of time, you can get it done. So the tracking sheets are set up like the TFAR, so you'll be keeping record exactly the same way with the same line items that are on the TFAR. So that's very helpful for you. If you choose to update your TFAR monthly, type in the latest figure because it won't add it for you. The submission window is May 1st through June 1st, so that's a whole month. And my gracious, if you've been doing this right along, it won't take you any more than 5 minutes. The TFAR, as I will explain, does ask some other questions. So that's why, you may be using a workbook or our worksheet, and it's set up just like the TFAR, but it doesn't have any of the questions that Council is always also asking at that time about where your troop is headed. There are a number of different things that this is a GSUSA product, and when you hit submit, it will come to us by way of a report, and then we can gather all sorts of different information that we need. Sometimes it's being used by the grant office and showing all the fun things that you guys are doing. So I encourage you to keep going on that TFAR so that you can, at the end of the year when you have to submit, it's nothing. It's a very simple thing to do.
Right. The amount of time it takes to just enter one receipt as you go along is, maybe a minute. But if you come to the end of the year and then you're trying to put all of them together to do the TFAR, it's going to take way more time than just those 1 or 2 minutes it would take as you go along. So,
that's correct. And then as a Service Unit Finance Consultant, you will also be saying in this slide deck that I will have another mini training for you as we get closer to spring.
Okay, and one heads up regarding this, and we will update the slide for your mini presentation, is that GSUSA shuts down the Finance tab for a small amount of time in the fall to update it for the new membership year. So it is currently closed and will be closed until November 7th. So we will make sure that is on the slide. So when you review it, everyone will know. They'll be so excited by this training, they'll want to go start filling it out immediately. We don't want them to be discouraged.
Excellent. Now we have other finance forms available. Here's some other important forms found on the GSWNY website. So submission instructions are written on each form, so it's very easy to use them. The first one on the list is the application for accident insurance. It's 2 pages. Definitely want to remind you about this one. The first page is what you fill out and submit with your troop check, and the second gives you information so you'll know what to write the check out to. This form is all about safety. The insurance is dirt cheap. It's usually around $5, and you will need to send this in if your troop is holding an event where non-registered individuals will attend. We do this all the time for most every service unit event because there's always family that's showing up. And then the next ones on the list are, they're money earning. Money earning for our girls, not fundraising, and only junior levels and up can do it. Daisies and Brownies can only earn money through the fall product sales and cookies. The rules for money earning are in Volunteer Essentials. And again, that's found on the website in forms if you need to review that. The evaluation is part 2. And sometimes that one gets overlooked. People forget about it. And I want to encourage you to remember it. The evaluation is more than just for accounting purposes. Council gathers successful ideas to share with other troops and to give examples of girls' innovation and goal setting for grant writing. Then the sponsorship agreement. Some troop meeting locations ask for it. So it's there if you need it. And then the next ones are the Opportunity Fund for books, uniforms, insignia, council-sponsored trips. Girls should never be turned away from the Girl Scout opportunity because of the lack of money. So when searching for the form, remember the word Opportunity Fund, and it will come up for you. And the one in red is the one that Christine already told you about because it's brand new. I thought I'd make it a little brighter for you. And it is basically to be used for, like Christine said, to help with the Girl Scout mandatory training, like first aid and CPR, for an individual who is financially struggling. If the troop or the service unit can't cover it, then please have them apply. And then the troop closure form has been redesigned, and it does include a finance piece. And because we don't want to lose anybody, it's in blue. So that's it for the slide deck. It says, thank you. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions or call GSWNY Customer Care. And that's it for your slide deck, ladies.
That's great. And again, obviously that won't take much time, so just make sure you get on that agenda. And certainly if there's any questions that come up, you can answer them for your troop leaders, or then certainly direct them to customer care, and we can provide any additional detail.
And I did want to tell you, it was kind of difficult to read that to you because I found myself embellishing. So even I said a little bit more than what's actually written there. Feel a little schizophrenic today. How about you?
And certainly feel like this is designed for your leaders. So if there are particular financial things that go on in your service unit that you want to address, or things you want to really highlight, or additional things, this is really for you. This is a tool for you, but it isn't designed to be a hard and fast script that you must absolutely follow exactly the way it is written.
Correct. And this is?
Well, thank you so much for sitting through this webinar and really getting yourself ready to be, again, that financial expert, that financial guru for your service unit, and getting ready to get them set off on a great fall. So we've met our goals. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to your service unit support specialist, and they can get you on your way. And then you can obviously always reach out to customer care with any questions. So again, thank you so much for all you do for Girl Scouts and for the girls and the leaders in your service unit.
Bye-bye.
Bye.